Everyone thinks they know Florida: Mickey Mouse ears, roller coaster screams, and lines longer than your local grocery receipt. And hey, we get it. Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, they're iconic for a reason. But Florida has been keeping some serious secrets. There's a place where you can float alongside 1,000-pound gentle giants in crystal clear springs, so pure you can see the bottom in spots up to 30 feet deep. This isn't the Florida of crowded theme parks and overpriced turkey legs. This is the Florida that locals have been trying to keep to themselves. The one where manatees outnumber tourists, where rocket launches light up the sky like the world's most expensive fireworks show, and where nature puts on performances that put any theme park attraction to shame. So pack your sense of wonder, leave the mouse ears at home, and let's dive into the Florida that'll make you forget theme parks ever existed. Number 1. Crystal River's Gentle Giants. Crystal River, Florida, is where something magical happens that sounds too good to be real. You're floating in water so clear, and the temperature stays a perfect 72 degrees year-round thanks to natural springs. And then, like a scene from a dream you never want to wake up from, a massive, gentle creature glides toward you. Meet the West Indian manatee, Florida's official state marine mammal and quite possibly the most chill animal on the planet. Crystal River is home to the largest concentration of manatees in the world. These adorable sea cows can weigh up to 1,200 pounds, but they move through the water with the utmost peacefulness. You slip into the warm spring water, snorkel gear on, and suddenly you're in their world. Manatees are naturally curious creatures, and if you're lucky, one might drift over to investigate this strange, awkward human floating. They've got whiskers like a cat, eyes that seem to hold wisdom, and a way of moving that makes you believe in magic again. Here's the thing that really gets you. These creatures have no natural predators. They've never learned to fear. So when a 1,000-pound manatee decides to float next to you, peacefully munching on seagrass like it's Sunday brunch, you realize you're experiencing one of nature's most trusting interactions. The best time to visit is during cooler months, November through March, when the manatees seek out the warm spring waters. Local tour operators offer everything from guided kayak tours to in-water snorkeling experiences. Number 2. Kennedy Space Center. The Kennedy Space Center is America's gateway to the stars, and walking through it feels like stepping into humanity's greatest adventure story. At the visitor complex, you come face to face with the space shuttle Atlantis. But here's the thing, you don't just look at it. You walk underneath it, around it. So close you can see the scorch marks from its final re-entry. These aren't replicas or models. These are the actual machines that launched humans into space. The real magic happens in the Apollo Saturn V Center. The largest rocket ever successfully flown, a 363-foot tall beast that generated 7.6 million pounds of thrust. You stand directly underneath it, craning your neck until it hurts. The firing room experience recreates the actual Apollo 8 launch with original consoles, authentic audio, and that spine-tingling countdown that sent humanity to lunar orbit for the first time. When those engines ignite, and the building starts to rumble, you feel it in your chest, in your bones, in places you didn't know could feel awe. And if you time your visit right, you might catch an actual rocket launch from nearby viewing areas. You leave Kennedy Space Center with a different perspective on what's possible. Number 3, the Everglades. Now, let's talk about one of the most misunderstood places in America, the Everglades. Most people think swamp. They think of mosquitoes, alligators, and murky waters. But the Everglades isn't a swamp at all. It's a river, the slowest moving river on Earth, and it's one of the most spectacular ecosystems on the planet. You're gliding across what looks like an endless sea of grass, but it's actually shallow water moving so slowly you can barely perceive the current. The grass sways in the breeze like a golden wheat field, stretching to the horizon in every direction. This is the river of grass, and it's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Fish jump, creating perfect circles that ripple outward until they disappear. And yes, alligators, Lots of them. Here's what nobody tells you about Everglades alligators. They couldn't care less about your airboat full of tourists. They've been perfecting the art of doing absolutely nothing for 200 million years. And they're really, really good at it. The Anhinga Trail at Royal Palm is where you can walk on a boardwalk through the heart of it all. Alligators sun themselves just feet away, completely unbothered by the parade of humans clicking cameras above them. The real magic of the Everglades reveals itself at sunset. The sky erupts in colors that seem impossible, oranges so bright they hurt to look at. And as the light fades, the night sounds begin: frogs, insects, and night birds. Number 4, Miami's Wynwood Walls. Up next, you've got Wynwood, where entire buildings are canvases, and Instagram was basically invented for this neighborhood. Wynwood Walls is what happens when the world's most talented street artists are given free rein to transform a forgotten warehouse district. You're walking down streets where every surface tells a story. Massive murals stretch from sidewalk to rooftop, each one more jaw-dropping than the last. The artists here are both local and international. Shepard Fairey, Retna, Howe, and Nazem, and dozens of others have left their mark on these walls. Many pieces are temporary and rotated regularly, which means Wynwood is never quite the same place twice. The energy here is electric. Young artists paint their own interpretations of the masterpieces around them. The second Saturday of every month, Wynwood Art Walk transforms the entire district into one massive block party. Galleries open their doors, artists demo their techniques, and the streets fill with people who understand that art isn't just something you hang on a wall. It's something that changes how you see the world. You don't just visit Wynwood, you experience it, absorb it, become part of its ongoing story. Number 5, Florida's natural springs. Florida sits on top of one of the world's largest freshwater aquifer systems, and the result is something that seems too beautiful to be real. Natural springs so clear, so perfectly blue, that swimming in them feels like floating through liquid sapphire. These underground river systems have been carved through limestone over millions of years, creating underwater cathedrals that cave divers travel from around the world to explore. The water is a constant 72 degrees year-round, so clear you can see the bottom at 30 feet, and so blue it looks like someone dropped food coloring into a swimming pool. The real magic happens when you grab a snorkel and explore the spring runs, underwater tunnels that connect these springs to the Suwannee River. Some cave systems here are explored by trained divers, but even snorkeling in the spring runs is like entering another world. Swimming in Florida's springs is like discovering that magic is real. The water is so pure, so impossibly clear, that you can't help but feel like you're part of something sacred. Number 6, Key West. At the southernmost tip of the continental United States, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Gulf of Mexico and reality gets just a little bit more colorful, you'll find Key West, a place that operates by its own rules. This is where Ernest Hemingway wrote some of his greatest works, surrounded by six-toed cats and fueled by daiquiris. His house is still there, preserved exactly as he left it, complete with descendants of his original polydactyl cats roaming the grounds like they own the place. The daily ritual of the Mallory Square Sunset Celebration is a genuine expression of Key West's philosophy that every day should end with applause. Street performers juggle fire, musicians play everything from steel drums to classical guitar, and artists create masterpieces on the spot. But the real star is the sun itself, dropping into the Gulf of Mexico in a blaze of orange and gold that makes everyone stop what they're doing and just watch. Duval Street pulses with an energy that's equal parts laid back and exhilarating. You can sip a cocktail in the same bar where Hemingway drank, browse shops selling everything from hand-rolled cigars to art made from local coral, and stumble upon musicians so talented you'll wonder why they're not headlining Madison Square Garden. The snorkeling here is world-class. The coral reefs just offshore teem with tropical fish in colors that seem too bright to be real. Parrotfish, angelfish, and schools of yellowtail snapper glide through coral formations that look like underwater cities. Key West's food is where Caribbean flavors meet Southern comfort with a splash of Cuban influence. Key lime pie isn't just dessert here, it's a religious experience. Fresh stone crab, conch fritters, and fish so fresh it was swimming this morning make every meal an adventure. But perhaps the best thing about Key West is its complete commitment to the idea that life should be enjoyed. This is a place where watching the sunset is considered a legitimate evening activity. You don't just visit Key West, you fall under its spell, and when you finally leave, you'll find yourself planning your return before you've even reached the mainland. Number 7, historic Spanish Point and Cortez Village. Florida has a way of hiding its most powerful stories in plain sight, and nowhere is that more true than on the quiet shores of historic Spanish Point and the salt-soaked streets of Cortez Village. It's an ancient coastline frozen in layers, a place where 5,000 years of life stack like sediment, each chapter pressed gently into the earth. At Spanish Point, the land itself tells the story. You walk beside towering Calusa shell mounds, built from discarded oyster shells and fish bones, each one a monument to a people who lived here long before Columbus ever set sail. And then, out of the trees, a different kind of story appears. Clapboard homes from the pioneer days, cradled in banyan roots and shaded by tropical palms. You'll pass citrus groves, a fern-lined chapel, and even a replica 1890s Sharpie sailboat docked as if the early settlers might come back any second to cast off. It's the kind of place that feels held in a bubble, like time never quite made it past the shoreline. But if you keep chasing that feeling, just an hour south, you'll find it again in Cortez, one of the last working fishing villages in Florida. No frills, no filters, just salt, sun, and stories, whispered through weathered dock posts and creaky boat sheds. When you stand beneath the Spanish moss or lean against a railing in Cortez as the sun bleeds into the bay, you realize this isn't just history you're looking at, it's Florida's soul, weathered, wild, and completely unforgettable. Number 8, Dry Tortugas National Park. Florida doesn't usually ask for silence. It's a loud place in the best way. Gulls, waves, live music, laughter, the hum of life. But out here, 70 miles off the coast of Key West, Florida goes quiet. Really quiet. There's no highway to take you here. No crowds, no convenience stores. You leave behind the honking horns, the beachside bars, the world, and you arrive by boat to a place that feels completely untethered from time. A massive 19th century brick fortress called Fort Jefferson rises out of the sea like it got lost. 16 million bricks built on a cluster of tiny islands surrounded by water so blue, the fort itself is a mystery. A structure so grand and isolated, you half expect to find treasure maps in the walls or secret passageways behind the rusted doors. You walk its halls, and the sound of your footsteps bounces back at you. Snorkeling here is one of the best-kept underwater secrets in the country. Coral reefs bloom just offshore. Sea turtles glide past you. You might see nurse sharks beneath the sand, or parrotfish darting between fortress stones. If you're really lucky, or just bold enough, you'll camp here overnight. No cell service, no lights, no distractions, just stars. All of them. So bright they make you feel microscopic in the best possible way. Number 9, Devil's Den, prehistoric spring. From the outside, it doesn't look like much. A modest little building, a patch of trees, a hole in the ground. But then you step inside, and everything changes. The air is cool and damp. The stone walls curve around you like the ribs of the earth itself. And at the bottom lies a spring so clear, so still, it almost doesn't look real. This is what 10,000 years of untouched beauty looks like. The name sounds ominous, Devil's Den, but it's really a place of quiet magic. the kind of place people once used as shelter and visitors now use to reconnect with something deeper. The water is a constant 72 degrees year-round and lit from above by a natural skylight that opens straight into the Florida sun. You float in this underwater cathedral, looking up at a perfectly round hole in the ceiling where sunlight spills down like it's been summoned. Roots dangle from the earth above. Fossils are embedded in the walls. Time feels weird here, like you've fallen into it. Divers come from all over the world to explore the underwater passages that stretch out beyond the visible pool. But even if you're not scuba certified, snorkeling here is enough to change you a little. The stillness, the silence, the way the water seems to hold you without effort. It's a kind of peace that's hard to describe and even harder to forget. Number 10, St. Augustine's Old Jail Plus Ghost Tour. Founded in 1565 by Spanish explorers, St. Augustine is the oldest continuously inhabited European-established settlement in the United States. It's a place where cobblestone streets whisper secrets and history is felt. Nowhere is that more true than at the Old Jail, located just a mile from the city's center. Built in 1891 and in use until 1953, the Old Jail housed St. Augustine's most dangerous and desperate residents. It was funded by Henry Flagler, the oil magnate who basically built modern Florida on one condition, that it looked beautiful. So it does at first glance. Its bright Victorian facade almost feels charming. Almost. But step inside, and that illusion shatters. Narrow steel-barred cells, chains still hanging from the walls, and a gallows standing outside is a stark reminder of how final justice could be. The sheriff lived in the front part of the building with his family, while inmates groaned and fought just feet away. Today, the Old Jail operates as a museum by day and something far spookier by night. Because if you stay after dark, you'll learn why it's considered one of the most haunted sites in Florida. The Ghosts and Gravestones tour, run by Old Town Trolley, takes you deep into the city's shadowy side. You'll walk through centuries-old cemeteries, hear about yellow fever victims buried hastily during outbreaks. You'll visit the jail in low light, where visitors have reported cold spots, flickering lights, and even the sound of disembodied footsteps. Is it haunted? Maybe, but it's definitely unforgettable. Number 11. Solomon's Castle. Built entirely by hand, this 12,000 square foot castle sits on a 90-acre property in Ona, Florida. And when we say castle, we mean it. Turrets, towers, stained glass, and all, covered entirely in recycled aluminum printing plates that reflect the Florida sun like a disco ball in the woods. Howard Solomon started building in the 1970s, and over the next 40 years, he turned his home into a living art piece. Every room, every corner, every sculpture is made from discarded materials, car parts, soda cans, scrap metal, and a wicked sense of humor. The castle itself is an ever-evolving museum of his artwork. You'll see a motorcycle made of typewriters, a knight built from oil cans, a giraffe made of wrenches, and a stained glass window shaped like a space shuttle. But the weirdest part? It's not weird at all once you're there. It just feels right. And when you get hungry, step into the Boat in the Moat, a full-sized replica 16th century Spanish galleon turned restaurant, sitting in a moat that Howard built himself. Grab a slice of homemade pie and wonder how something so strange can feel so comforting. So there you have it, the Florida that exists beyond the theme parks, beyond the crowds, beyond the overpriced churros, and 3-hour lines. Don't get us wrong, theme parks are fun. But this Florida changes you. It reminds you that the best adventures aren't always the ones designed by engineers and tested by focus groups. Sometimes they're the ones that have been waiting patiently for millions of years, carved by rivers and shaped by nature. So next time someone asks you about Florida, tell them about the mouse if you want, but also tell them about the manatees and the rockets and the springs so clear they look like liquid glass. Tell them about sunsets that stop traffic, and art that stops hearts, and a river of grass that flows so slowly you can barely see it move, but somehow changes everything. Tell them about the Florida that's been here all along, waiting patiently beyond the gates and the crowds, ready to show them what real magic looks like. The adventure is waiting. The only question is, are you ready to discover the Florida you never knew existed? Safe travels, adventurers. The real Florida is out there, and it's even better than you imagined.